YouTube parts. Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today, we're going to do a leather hat patch that you could stamp or engrave anything on there that you want. These things are becoming super popular right now. You'll see a lot of hats or a lot of companies selling hats that have a leather patch with their logo on it. Wrangler, Levi's, all those guys do it. So it's real popular. I wanted to try it, so we're going to see if we can't put a logo on there and get that attached to the hat. So come on in and let's get started. All right, so I've got some fairly thin, supple, soft leather, pre-dyed, and we're going to go ahead and put the logo on. And I'm just using my logo. I figure I could use these to promote my channel also. So we'll go ahead and send that to the machine. Now, I put it on 2.5 by 2.5 inches is the size of the actual logo that I'm putting on there. And all I did was measure the front of the hat, the cap, and just arbitrarily decided that's what I do. And it would also depend on whether your logo was oblong or tall in orientation. So it would depend on your logo. Mine happens to be square. So it's going to be 2.5 by 2.5. And I am going to do a couple of these. I try to keep this area ventilated the best I can. I know they have some fans that you can buy that actually hook right to your laser, but sometimes that burnt skin smell can get fairly strong. So if anybody has any suggestions, let me know in the comments, please. It's about 50% complete. And one thing I do like about this Grable software, and it is free to download, is you can watch your screen, and it actually has a crosshair that follows where the laser is in its progress. So you can watch the screen and see exactly where the progress is without actually looking over at the laser. Now, the laser engraver did come with a pair of safety laser glasses that I always wear. from the looks of the screen. It's about 80% done. And of course the time it takes depends on how big your logo is or whatever it is you're engraving, and then the speed of the laser. Alright, so there it is completed, and there's those laser safety glasses that came with the laser engraver. So pretty sharp image. Get it focused there. So I'll go ahead and cut that off and put this back in there and let it do the second one. While we're working on the first one. We'll go ahead and make sure I try to keep you in the shot here. And I'm going to try to knock off some of that burnt leather that's on the top here. And then I'll just take a little bit of protectant, clean that up a little bit. I'll show you what that looks like. There, it's nice and clean. It has all that burnt top layer off of there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this square that I put around there as my stitching line. So I'm going to leave just maybe less than 1/8 of an inch around the outside. Somebody made the suggestion on the last video I used the engraver on that I could program it to actually cut this out on the engraver, and they're right, I could do that, and I haven't had time to mess with changing up the cutting setup on it. So I'm still learning as I go on this engraver. So I will do that at some point. I want to learn how to do that because I want to learn how to actually program uh, like patterns in it. So I could scan a pattern or drawing in there and actually cut the pattern out of leather with that laser engraver. I think that would be awesome to try that. So that'll be coming in the future at some point. So there's the patch that I'm going to put on the hat, and that shows you the size and where that would fall on the hat. I think it's going to look pretty good. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and punch this with my stitching punch, and I'm going to stitch this by hand, and I'm only stitching it with some button and carpet extra strong thread. I'm not using any wax sinew or anything, and I'll use a heavy duty sewing needle. I won't even use a leather sewing needle. So sorry my hand's in your way. I've got you on the other side here today. And what I'll do is I'll just go around and see if I can get out of your way a little bit here. And again, it's not going to take very much because this leather isn't very thick and it's pretty soft. Okay, it sounds like our other one is done. So as soon as we get this finished up, we could go on and do the second one. Probably won't go ahead and do it until we get this one totally complete. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get an idea where this is going to go on the hat so that I can put a little contact cement on there and not go past my patch. So I think what I'm going to do is just put a little mark or a couple of marks on there. If I can get to my fine point Sharpie here, and I don't want it to go beyond my stitching line either. So I'm just putting some small short reference marks. Now this stitching line on the hat itself is going to be my bottom mark, so I won't have to worry about that. I'll know where to stop there. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. And all this is for is to keep it nice and flat and attached to the hat while I'm doing my stitching. So there's my reference marks, and I want to stay inside of while I'm doing my contact cement. And these hats, I purchased them at Walmart for like $6 a piece, and they're just truckers' hats, snapbacks, but they were the right color in my opinion for these patches. So I'm just going to go ahead and start and I'll go to that line, those reference marks. I just don't want to get outside of them. I'm also trying to stay where you can see what I'm doing here. So you can see I'm keeping that contact cement inside of those reference marks, those Sharpie marks I put on there, down to that stitching line on the hat. And then I'll also, as soon as I get this coated, I'll also coat the back of the patch, the leather patch. So there's that area. You can really see it because it darkened up that hat. And then let's go ahead and coat the back of the leather patch. And you'll see it darken up as well. And I'm going to put just a small piece of chipboard or cardboard behind this so I don't make a mess on my cutting mat. And that'll allow me to go all the way out to the edge. I can go ahead and turn that. Notice I'm not going back toward my patch. I'm only going one direction, away from it, away from the edge. That way I don't pull back and get a bunch of glue on the edge of my patch. Let's go ahead and set that brush aside there. We can set it aside on that patch. And that should keep this patch where I want it in the right location while I'm doing my stitching or my sewing, however you want to look at it. Let that dry just a couple minutes. And then we can go ahead and place it. I want to make sure that I have it exactly where I want it before I push it down on there. And any of that did get right on the edge, you can just use your fingernail real lightly and take it right off. And all I'm doing is putting my hand inside the hat, this hand, and pushing against my other hand just to make sure I'm getting good contact with that cement. So that gives you a pretty good idea what it would look like before it's or after it's even sewn on there. So all I'll do is take some of this button and carpet extra strong thread, and it is approximately the same color as the hat, maybe a little more toward the brown side, but it's going to be fine. And I'll go ahead and sew that around, just do a single stitch, and then I'll come back and show you the final product. I've got the one patch sewn on there. I just sewed it by hand. I did a single stitch all the way around. Nothing fancy. You can see the square on the inside. I didn't put any backer on it. It's not embroidered or anything. I didn't think it needed any backer. That hat's plenty thick enough. And then here's the second one. So we started out with our plain hat. We did our engraving. Again, you could do stamping, anything you'd want to put on there. And then we just hand stitched that on there. So I think it turned out really good. And I'll try it on and I'll show you how it looks. Fits good, feels good, and I think it looks pretty good. So there's, if I can get out of that shadow, there we go. There's the leather patch on the trucker's hat, and as you can see, pretty simple, pretty quick, pretty easy. Even if you did a hand stamp design or carving or something, you know, it's not going to take you a long time to do. So I appreciate you coming along, appreciate you watching. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. I would appreciate it. And I really do like doing these videos. It's just because I enjoy doing this. Not so much enjoy all the editing and uploading and all that, but I really enjoy doing this leather. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to enjoy it. I might as well share it with you guys. So I hope you appreciate it. I hope you like the videos. And as I always say, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.